you are able to see the slides now and you are able to hear me clearly. So let us start with this last lectures in the CNS physiology. Okay, shall we start?
Yes, go
Yes,
ahead.
okay, doctor.
Good.
Yes, doctor.
Okay. So here we are going to discuss two one of the last special senses, which is actually part of a couple of special senses. Smell and taste are two senses we always discuss together. But since taste is a self-directed learning topic, we'll not be discussing it here. So we'll focus on smell. So smell and taste together actually are chemical sensations. In both these conditions, we have receptors which can detect chemicals, molecules. So molecules available in atmosphere or in liquid or solid, when they bind to the receptor, we detect that particular sensation. Okay, so molecule in the air will go into our nose and they will bind to the receptor and we'll feel the smell sensation. That is called as olfaction. Similarly, for taste, the molecule may be in liquid, may be in gaseous state, may be in solid state, but has to dissolve in the saliva and then bind the receptors. The details you will study for taste. But let's continue with the smell, which is also called as olfaction. Okay. Now, what is the function of both the smell and taste? Now, we'll focus on smell actually. So, what is the function? Primary function is to identify the flavor of any item, edible item. So that is the primary job of taste and smell sensation. They are part of flavor. Okay. So they will tell us whether a food is edible or non-edible, whether it is beneficial or harmful. Okay. So smell and taste can give us that information. Also how good it is and all those things. So flavor gives us both this information. Okay. So essentially flavor is nothing but combination of smell and taste. Apart from this, smell particularly has got far more other important functions. You can see here it has got role in sexual and behavioral response. This is primarily in primates, animals. You can see the area marking, protective function done there. Okay. In humans also some level of protective function is there. By smell sensation, we can tell whether the food is good to eat or has gone bad or gone sour, isn't it? So it has got some protective function. One of the most interesting function of smell is it triggers long-term memory. Please remember this function. Okay, smell, if I don't know how it is related, but it has got role in triggering long-term memory. Okay, and that is one of the reason why it is used. Okay. Okay, let us go ahead into the functional anatomy part of olfaction or smell sensation. So I'll show you a picture here. You can see, can you see my cursor mouse cursor, arrow?
Yes, yes.
Good. So if you see in the nose, at the upper part of the mucosal epithelium of the nose, there is a patch of mucosa, this dark reddish colored, which is called as olfactory epithelium. It is this epithelium, this part of the nose, not the all of the nose, only this part of the nose where receptors are located. Therefore, this epithelium is called as olfactory epithelium. Okay. So this is the enlarged picture of the olfactory epithelium. The red structure here, you can see multiple cells are there. The most important cells which you need to remember are the receptor cell itself, olfactory receptor cell, the yellow ones which you can see. Then you remember the basal cell and supporting cell. Okay, so this way three major cells form the mucosal epithelium, olfactory epithelium. uh, if anybody is not able to join, please just message me. Okay, some students are going into the waiting room or something like that. If anybody is not able to join, just message me. I'll keep allowing. Okay, so what you have to remember here, the three cells. Please remember their function. What is the function of receptor cell? It will convert the chemical sensation into action potential. Then it will cause transduction. So whenever a chemical, now the chemical which can bind to this receptor is called as odorant. Odor is smell, isn't it? Another word for smell is odor. And the chemical which stimulates the smell receptors or olfactory receptors is called as odorant. So whenever this chemical binds to the receptor cell, it will cause action potential generation, which is called as transduction. Simple as that. Okay.
Yes.
Now these are
Doctor,
very few receptor cells.
There is
Yes,
a girl
please.
that wants to enter in the waiting room.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry
Let
for
me
interrupting.
check. Let me check. Okay. I don't see any wait. Okay, here it is. Yes, yes. Fatima, right?
And Nov also.
Yes.
I don't see anybody else waiting. Yeah, yeah, yes, yes. Sorry. Allowed. Good. So, continuing with our PowerPoint now. Can you remember the function of these cells, please? Receptor cell, the function is it binds the chemical or odorant and then generates action potential. Generating action potential because of any stimulation is called as transduction. Okay. So conversion of chemical energy into electrical energy. This is therefore called as transduction. Now supporting cell, as the name says, they are there to support the receptor cells. Okay, they are there to support the receptor cells, and they very important function which they do is they secrete mucus. Are we clear? Any question till this part?
Doctor, sorry, because I wasn't able to join from the beginning. Can you just repeat the first information you said in regards to the receptor cells?
Yes, exactly. I'll be repeating now. So this is the first point of our learning in this lecture, that our smell receptors are located in the nose only in this part, the upper red part you see. Can you see the red mucosa here with my arrow?
Yes.
Yes. So that is the epithelium. That is called as, because it is having receptor, it is called as olfactory epithelium. Now this epithelium has got receptor cells as shown in this slide. Okay. As shown in this slide, they have the receptor cells which are called as olfactory receptor cell. Then it has got supporting cell and basal cell. Please remember the function of each. This is our objective from this slide. Okay. So what is the function of receptor cell? It will bind the chemical for smell sensation and convert it into action potential or generate action potential. So that is its function. Odorant binding, detection and transduction. Okay. Second, supporting cells, as the name says, they are supporting the receptor cells, but the very important function is they secrete mucus. Now remember one thing here. Our smell sensation detects the chemical molecule, but they cannot be detected if they are dry. The chemical molecule has to mix with mucus. Then only they can bind the receptor. If there is no mucus secretion and if the epithelium is dry, you will not be able to smell properly. The receptors will not be able to bind the chemical. There has to be mucus there. So very important function supporting cells are doing is they are secreting mucus. So any disease or condition which doesn't allow secretion of mucus, the person will not be able to smell. Okay. So very, very important function done by supporting cell. Now we come to the last but very important cell, that is basal cell. Basal cells are the one which will generate receptor cells. They are the precursors. They will make new receptor cells. Now remember, receptor cells die very often. Within a month or 2 months, they will be replaced by new receptor cells. So old receptor cells do not last for more than 2 months, and within 2 months they will be replaced by new cells produced from basal cells. So they are like stem cell, basal cell. Okay. They will continuously produce new receptor cells. They will continuously produce supporting cells also. Okay. So this is the function of basal cell. For your exam, please remember basal cells are precursor for new receptor cells. Any difficulty till this part?
Clear, doctor.
Good. So the thing which I asked you to learn is the three cells which are there in the olfactory epithelium. These are the three cells. Now let us focus on these receptor cells. You see these receptor cells, they have very unique structure with a cell body, a very long dendrite-like structure and cilia, which is dipped in the mucus. So you see in the outside side, there is a mucus coating in the epithelium and our cilia of the receptors are dipped there. So our chemical has to come here, dissolve in the mucus and then only it binds. If the mucus becomes dry, it will not be able to bind to the receptor cilia. Okay. Second thing, if you realize this, mucus is mostly made up of water, isn't it? So all chemicals which can dissolve in water can easily bind to the receptor if they have that shape, isn't it? Yani, things we smell usually are water soluble because they have to dissolve in mucus. Fat soluble or oil soluble substances, we have difficulty in detecting through smell sensation. Okay. So this is about the smell sensation receptors. Okay. So as I said, the chemical which binds is called as odorant. It has to dissolve in mucus and then bind to the cilia of the receptor. Okay. In general, different receptor will bind to different chemicals. On an average, we have 1000 different types of receptor protein. Okay. And each one can bind to up to 10 to 20 different chemicals. We have 10,000 different types of receptors, olfactory receptor, 1,000 different types of olfactory receptor, and then they can bind to many more, 10, 20, I don't know the exact number actually. They can bind to many more different types of chemicals, similar chemicals, okay? So each protein can respond to a variety of chemicals. So this is the only point which you have to consider here. We have 1000 different types of receptor. So in general, these receptors are G protein receptors and then they will cause action potential generation. Okay. So here is a picture of our receptor. All the colored ones which you see in this picture are the receptors. Okay, olfactory receptor as the name is shown here. Okay. Now let me get the pointer pen here and show you. This is our olfactory receptor. Can you see the marking I am making? Are you able to see the marking? Pen marking?
Olfactory receptors, right?
Yes, doctor.
Yes, yes. That's I just wanted to confirm. Okay. Okay. Now one thing which you have to see is these receptors are giving rise to axon which will immediately cross the bone separating the nose from the skull. This is called as cribriform plate if you remember your anatomy. So this cribriform bone is there which has got many holes. Therefore it is called as cribriform. Okay. So through these holes the nerves directly enter the cranium. Okay. In the cranium there is a nuclear-like structure, a swelling-like structure in the pathway. So all the axons from the receptor will go here and will synapse here. Okay. So this structure where synapse of the receptor axon with the next neuron occurs, this structure is called as olfactory bulb. Okay. Any difficulty till this part?
Clear, doctor.
Okay, so now we know one simple thing that receptors give rise to axon which will immediately cross the skull bone, cribriform plate bone into the cranium, inside the head, okay, into the cranium, and there they will synapse. This synapse occurs in a structure called as olfactory bulb, which is like a swelling, okay, bulb-like structure as the name itself says. Okay. Now, things to observe in this picture. You see, different receptors are given different colors here. Okay. So each receptor has the ability to bind to certain smell sensation. So red one is for rose, maybe. Purple is for bluish purple or whatever this is, purple probably. Okay. Purple is for jasmine. Green is for lily, and something like that. So all red will be detecting rose or similar chemicals. All purple will be detecting jasmine or similar chemical. This is just an example for our understanding. Okay. So similar color yane, they carry similar smell sensation. Am I clear till this point?
Dear doctor, yes.
Okay. So the receptors which are shown in this picture are of different color just to show that they carry different smell sensation. So we have all red carrying rose-like sensation, example, purple carrying similar sensation, all blues carrying similar sensation. Okay. So now they are spread in the mucous epithelium, and when these axons, their axon cross into the olfactory bulb, all red come together at one place and form a bulb. Okay, inside the olfactory bulb, they synapse together with one second order neuron, which is called as mitral cell. Okay, so the second neuron which they synapse is called as mitral cells. Okay, so inside the olfactory bulb, all similar sensations synapse at one place. So all rose sensing receptors will synapse at this mitral cell. All jasmine sensing receptors axons will synapse at this mitral cell. Lily at this mitral cell, whatever some other at this mitral cell. So separation of smell sensation occurs in the olfactory bulb itself. Are we clear till this point?
Doctor, I have a question. Are all mitral cells the same, or they differ based on the receptor and the type of the smell?
No change, no change. All mitral cells are same. Okay?
Okay, clear.
The point is now this mitral cell will give rise to axon which will go to the brain. This mitral cell will give another axon which will go to the brain. So action potential coming from this axon, brain will think, okay, the sensation is jasmine. Action potential coming from this axon, the brain will think it is rose, isn't it? That is how brain identifies different smell sensation simply by which mitral cell axon is bringing action potential. Are we clear?
Yes. Yes, doctor.
Okay. So the point, we took lot of time to understand this slide because this was very, very important. So the point is that different sensations are separated in the olfactory bulb itself. Okay. So here we have new sensation carried by this mitral cell, another sensation carried by this mitral cell, another sensation carried by this mitral cell, because the receptors are ending separately here, isn't it? So that is how separation of sensations occur in olfactory bulb. Okay. I want to make one more point on this slide. This synapse of receptor axon with the dendrites of the mitral cell forms a bulb-like structure which is called as glomeruli. Okay. So glomeruli is nothing but bunch of synapses between the receptor axon and mitral cell. Okay. So this is the next point you have to remember. So you can see here the receptor cells, similar one coming together into one glomeruli. Similar one coming towards one glomeruli, isn't it? And one mitral cell then will carry it to the brain. One mitral cell will carry it to the brain. Okay. Now, add one more thing to this information. There are some other cells like granule cells and periglomerular cells. These are there which will interact between these two. Okay. Periglomerular cells and granule cells. You can see here granule cells. Okay. They can interact with these cells, mitral cells. Okay. They can increase the conductivity of this mitral cell or this mitral cell. And they can increase or decrease the activity of one mitral cell or another. So they are there to increase the sensitivity of one particular smell sensation. Okay. Are we clear? So we have some intermediate cell which will change the sensitivity of mitral cell. That is all you have to remember. Now the most important sentence from this slide is this last one. Different glomeruli respond to different smell. Simple as that. Okay. Different glomeruli carry different smell sensation. This is the most important. Whether you understand it or not, this is the sentence you should remember. Any difficulty till this part?
Clear, doctor. No, clear.
Okay. Okay. Now we come to the pathway part. So here is our olfactory bulb, and from here it will go. The sensation will directly go to olfactory cortex. Okay. Now primary olfactory cortex is not exactly defined area. It is part of limbic system. So many nuclei from the limbic system are part of olfactory cortex. They have role in identifying smell sensation. Okay. So anyway, this part, the medial part of the temporal lobe near to the brainstem, that is called as piriform cortex, that we consider as primary olfactory cortex. Actually, all of them are olfactory cortex. Are we clear? Okay. Second thing, you will observe that the pathway is not using thalamus. Normally, every pathway supposed to use thalamus. Here the information from the olfactory bulb is directly going into the cortex. Okay, so this is the fact here. Now this is not the 100% fact, but in general. Okay, apart from this primary olfactory cortex, the information also goes to frontal lobe. This is our frontal lobe. Okay, frontal lobe, the area which is used is medial frontal lobe. Where is it written? Okay, so here orbitofrontal cortex. So this part is also used for identifying smell sensation. So here the job of orbitofrontal cortex is conscious perception and fine discrimination. Okay, instinctive response to smell is occurring through piriform cortex or primary olfactory cortex, but fine discrimination and conscious analysis of smell sensation is done by orbitofrontal cortex. Okay, so please remember these two sentences: conscious perception and fine discrimination by orbitofrontal cortex, and by primary olfactory cortex it is the instinctive response, behavioral response to smell. Okay, so that is done. Okay, so here is the pathway. You can see here from the mitral cells, the axon directly go.
Doctor, can you repeat again? What is the response?
Okay, let me go back to the slide. This slide you are talking about?
Yes, I know that the orbit frontal cortex will go the conscious perception and fine discrimination.
Fine.
And then you said it's a something response. I couldn't hear
Okay.
it.
The information from the olfactory bulb is going to two places. One is orbitofrontal cortex. So what is the function it is doing? It is doing what you said just now: conscious perception and discrimination. Another copy of information goes to primary olfactory cortex. Okay. What is the function? Behavioral reaction. I had told you instinct. Okay. Instinct is nothing but the natural response to smell. You like it, you don't like it, and all those things. Okay. So behavioral response, instinctive behavioral response related to smell is done by primary olfactory cortex. Just remember the underlined words. That is the answer. Okay.
Thank you, doctor.
Good. So let's go ahead now. So as the pathway has shown, that information goes to primary cortex, which is shown here actually. Okay, all these are, sorry, all the mess here. Okay, and information goes to the primary olfactory cortex and also goes to orbitofrontal cortex. Now, if you see, some of the information is actually using thalamus. Okay, so that's saying that olfactory nerve is the only nerve which directly go to the cortex without going to the thalamus is not 100% correct. There are certain fibers which go through thalamus also. This is all about the pathway. Now we go to perception. In general, humans can recognize 10,000 different types of smell. This is the only sentence you have to remember. Because we have 1,000 different types of receptor protein, they can bind up to 10 or more different chemicals. Okay. What are the factors which affect smell sensation? Nothing, no big issue. You know this. Age, the ability decreases with age. Gender, you know, women or females are have keener olfactory sensation, sharper olfactory sensation. Smoking, because smoking causes paralysis or damage of the cilia, any cilia in the respiratory tract. It will reduce the number of receptors, therefore sensitivity decreases. Hunger causes increase in sensitivity. State of olfactory mucus, as I said, if the olfactory mucosa is secreting more than normal mucus, as it occurs in flu and common cold, the smell sensation will decrease because the chemical has to travel thicker area of mucus before it reaches the receptor, isn't it? Of course, attention will also affect the amount of smell sensation. Okay. One very important point is detection threshold. The minimum amount of chemical required before you detect it. For a person to detect, the minimum amount which is required. Now, this is different for different chemical. We know one chemical called as methyl mercaptan. It is added to our cooking gas cylinders. Small amount, very small amount is added because we have very low threshold for detecting it. Very low threshold, yani we can detect it when it is in very small amount. Okay. So therefore, whenever there is a gas leak, we are able to immediately detect by smell sensation. It is not the actual gas which is smelling, it is the chemical which is added to the cooking gas. This is that chemical, methyl mercaptan. Okay. As opposed to carbon dioxide. Okay. Carbon dioxide is a gas. We have very high threshold. We are not able to detect it unless it is in very high quantity. Okay. Carbon dioxide we can detect only when the concentration or quantity is around 74,000 part per million. So 74,000 molecules in million molecule, then only we will be able to detect carbon dioxide. If the molecule is less than this, we will not be able to detect. Okay. In reality, a person will die whenever the concentration of carbon dioxide reaches 50,000 parts per million. Okay. Clear? So we have very difficulty in identifying carbon dioxide because it is fatal before it is detected. Okay. This you already know, adaptation. Olfactory system is one of the fastest to adapt. Okay. The adaptation occurs both at the receptor level and at the brain level, at both the places. Okay. Related to smell sensation, there is a few set of receptors which respond to certain unique chemicals secreted by that species. Okay. So there are species specific chemicals. Every type of animal has got unique set of chemicals released. Okay. And also in that same species, different types of chemicals are released by some people. Combination is different. So every person has got a unique set of chemicals released. That set of chemical is called as pheromones. Okay. Now it is believed that these pheromones are like chemical communication between two individuals, whether humans or animals. It is more common in animals actually. So they have, whenever this chemical increases, it means something to the opposite gender animal. Okay, so this works primarily in animals and less primarily or less so in humans. Okay, so purchasing high cost perfumes claiming to have pheromones will not change anything, will not make a person more attractive or less attractive. So it is waste of money. It is just a marketing gimmick because this pheromone phenomenon doesn't work, or vomeronasal receptor organ doesn't work in human because now it is overwhelmed by the other conscious activity in the brain. It works in animals only. For your exam, what you have to remember is vomeronasal organ detects pheromone. That is all. So we have come to the last aspect of this lecture, that is clinical. This is half of our lecture. Half of the lecture was physiology. The second half is clinical aspect. Okay. So what is the clinical problem you expect in smell? Absence of smell. The most common one is absence. It is called as anosmia. Okay. Decreased ability to smell, hyposmia. Abnormal smell, it is called as dysosmia. Then there is one genetic condition called as Kalman syndrome. Kalman syndrome is a disease where genetically the person is not able to develop cilia anywhere in the body. Can you give me any example of organ system in the body where cilia are there? Any other place in the body where cilia are there?
Intestine.
Very good.
Respiratory system.
Intestine. Intestine, any part of the intestine accepted. Anything else?
Fallopian tube.
Fallopian
Respiratory
tube, very
system.
good. Yani reproductive organs. That applies
Also
to male also
respiratory,
and
right?
female also. Both organs have cilia. And respiratory system,
Respiratory.
you know respiratory. Sorry? Respiratory system.
Respiratory system.
Just remember. Yes. So all these places cilia are there. Whatever the cell type is there, they have cilia. And
The
in this
ventricles?
disease, Kalman syndrome,
The brain
you are
ventricles.
not able to make. Yes, please.
The brain
You are asking
ventricles.
loudly. I cannot hear you.
The brain ventricles.
Yes, in brain ventricle also. Okay, CSF clearance and everything. So wherever cilia are there, this person is not having the genes to develop cilia. Okay, so he will have signs and symptoms related to all these organs. Okay, so GIT, he will not be able to absorb food because cilia are not there. So there will be decreased ability to absorb food. Respiratory system, he is not able to clear the mucus. So mucus accumulation occurs in the lung that will cause infection there and destruction of the bronchi. This condition is called as bronchiectasis. Bronchiectasis. Okay. So Kalman syndrome person will have both these symptoms. He will have hypogonadism. Organ growth, reproductive organ growth also requires cilia. Okay. He will have that, and then fertility related issues, and he will have many other issues. But one of them will be because cilia are required for smell sensation also, he'll have anosmia, absence of smell. Okay. So that is our Kalman syndrome. Any difficulty till this part?
No, clear.
So this is half of our lecture. This 4 terminology, you should know them. Okay. Please remember them. So this is all for this smell sensation. Similarly, you will study for taste sensation also. Okay. So if you see the smell sensation lecture, similar is the lecture for taste sensation. You will see the video which I have shared with you on the Moodle. There all again you will have similar 3 types of cells. You have to study them, identify the function of each, which is similar to this one. Then you have different types of taste sensation. Please remember, there are only 5 primary tests. All our test ability is dependent upon only 5 test sensations. Please remember that. Okay. Second thing to remember, name the 5 sensation primary tests. You should know by heart what are the 5 tests we can detect. Okay. Any other test mentioned, is not acceptable. You should know those 5 ones only. Am I clear
Dr.
with
Wardy.
this?
Just clear.
Read it. It is self-directed learning. I have given you the resources. Okay. Okay.
Absolutely.
Good. In fact, I have shared one of my earlier video lecture, so you can watch that. Okay, in the resources.
Okay, thanks
That will
for
give
the
you. Okay, so that is important. That was the important point I wanted to talk to you about that test sensation. Second thing is mechanism. Okay, in test sensation, what you will focus is those 5. What is the mechanism they use to generate action potential? For example, salty sensation. What it will do? Whenever salt binds to the receptor, it will open ion channel directly. Okay, so salt sensation is detected by opening of ion channel. Okay, as compared to other test sensation like bitter sensation, where you need G protein. Okay, so read that, listen to the video, and you'll understand. So this point is also important. How different sensations are detected. Some are detected by opening of ion channel. Some are detected by opening of or activation of G protein. So identify which one is which. You should know that. And of course, the last thing is you should know the clinical aspect. Aguasia, dysgeusia, hypoaguasia. Guasia is test, aguasia is absence, like this. Okay. So this is all about the smell sensation lecture. And we stop this lecture now here. Any question?
Doctor, yes, just I want to confirm something. So scent is through G protein?
And some through other method, maybe ion channel or something. You will find that in the resources I have shared. Okay. That is what you have to study. I'm just directing you what to study. Right? Clear?
Yes, doctor.
Yes, okay.
Good.
Thank you,
Good.
Doctor.
If you watch that lecture video, it will be very clear now. Okay, so this finishes the